So always start off by asking everyone, when did you know music was going to be a part of your life?
I knew music was going to be a part of my life. Well, I always liked music. I think back, I've been thinking about this stuff a little bit more recently. And the first time somebody asked me who my favorite artist was, I was like, I don't know, maybe five, you know? And my neighbors asked me, and they were all sisters, and we were standing in their living room, and they're like, hey, so who's your favorite artist? And the first thing that came to me was like James Brown. Like I feel good, right? Like that stuff. I loved it, and I knew it then, and I didn't know why. And they were horrified. They were all like, "James Brown, ew," But we, were super young, like 1990 or something. I'm like, what am I doing, like liking James Brown like that? But I guess the funk and the soul music just always got me. Just felt good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were your like parents listening to like funk and soul music?
My like not a lot. Like I remember being in like the truck with my dad going to work, and he listened to rock and roll. Like so, he mostly listened to rock and roll anyway. Um, like old school stuff. He was real into Aerosmith and like Budgie and like all these great bands, But like from when he was in high school, those bands were becoming famous. Like while constantly coming through San Antonio, like Kiss K Mac, all that. I don't know that like history or the radio DJ was putting on big shows. So
Hmm.
that was that was kind of like a part of what I heard a lot. And my dad's family's from Mexico, so I would hear like at quinceañeras and stuff like lots of tejano and cumbias and those things, and oldies, cruising classics on KTFM back in the day. Like so, an eclectic bunch of music, not specifically like funk or any genre like that. They listen to a lot of stuff. My dad was real into disco too. My dad like loved to dance. My parents, so they liked that kind of music, and so all just music. It was around all types.
So when you were that young, did you know that you wanted to like play music or make music, or were you just like the music listener lover?
I I think I fantasized about it because my dad like told me that one time. He was like, "You can be anything you want to be." He was like, you can be a lawyer or doctor, right? Like the traditional stuff. He's like, you could even be a jukebox hero, like that song, right? And I was just like, oh, rock and roll, like really me? And I had never thought of it before, but then I'm like at my cousin's wedding, and like I'm still a little kid, and there's a band playing. This is like a small town, Beeville, Texas wedding, like in this hall, and there's a band playing, and I'm watching musicians play songs that I've heard for a long time, like probably for the first time, and they're having a blast, and like I'm running around with some of the other kids like through other rooms in the hall, and I don't know what they're playing, but the guitar player's just going off, and I like drop to my knees, and I'm like, like being in the moment, like mimicking this thing, like letting it go through me. And then again, my dad passes right by me, and he like sees me on the ground doing this thing, like, and he just like looks at me, like, oh, he caught me, and like I don't know, he went to the restroom or something. But I remember that. I remember seeing the band. I remember being real excited. So I didn't know, like it. I just kind of like kept happening.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. From there, so where do you start like picking up an instrument for the first time?
Uh, Again, my dad, like he wasn't really a musician, and I think he knew he wasn't a musician. But in high school, he did get a guitar, a Ventura, uh, an acoustic guitar, 6 string, right?
Mhm.
Steel string Ventura from Spain, I guess. That I guess his dad gave him when he was in high school, and he gave it to me when I was in middle school. Maybe I was like 10,
Yeah.
and they paid for some lessons. My parents paid for some lessons for me, but I wasn't really the kind of person to go home and practice. Um, Also, we had moved into a new neighborhood, so I didn't have a routine or anything like that. I was just kind of hanging out with my sister, I guess, most of the time, and so I played acoustic guitar first. Took some lessons, didn't practice it. Then fast forward to like by the time high school came around, Alex, my cousin, who's the guitar player and singer in Pop Pistol, like got into guitar, and so I was like, if he plays guitar, the other guy plays the bass, right? Like we are into rock bands at that point finally. And I was like, I'll play the bass, you know. So, and there's another thing that really got me into the idea of playing bass because I had to kind of be sold on it. I already played guitar, but I didn't really play guitar. I just had one.
Yeah.
Um, MTV, when they used to have live music, you know, and music in general, they used to have spring break programs.
Hmm.
And I saw, my mind was kind of blown when I saw like hip hop or R&B being performed with a band. Like when I saw Outkast performing with a band, that like blew my mind. And then when I saw Aaliyah singing one of her songs that Timbaland produced, she had a bass player and he was playing this like cherry red bass and he's got like sunglasses on. He's like super cool looking and he's playing. I was like, whoa, he's playing that with his hands, and I was like, okay, yeah, I want to be that guy. I want to play that.
Man, that's so badass to hear. Like just the like I can visualize it and just seeing it. It's real cool when you have like that one like standout moment that makes you want to like inspires you to pick up anything. So that's cool. So then did you and Alex just start jamming or like you asked your dad for a bass?
They got me one for Christmas one year. I must have been in like, I think I was in 10th grade.
Mhm.
Um, and by that time, I started going to the same school with him, which was Highlands, which is where like where I met Jorge, and like the whole band comes from Highlands, basically. So we graduated from there, and yeah, I they got it for me one Christmas, and Alex had a band that he was in at Highlands. I think they were called Fetus or Nimbus or something like that, right? Some us kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? And then I was playing just along to like CDs, you know. I was like Stained. I was really big into Stained. They were like the first new metal band that I saw because they were opening up for Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock at Sunken
Yeah.
Gardens. So I went to that show. It was like my first rock concert. I was real scared, you know, like, am I gonna get beat up? I don't know, like, because I see you see the mosh pits and they're kind of intimidating if you're, you know, like just a young teenager and never been in one, but ultimately liberating.
Yeah.
Uh, Stained, right? Right, their first hit, and
Yeah.
it
Mud
was
Shovel, I think.
Mud Shuffle, yeah, Mud Shovel, and then just like Chevelle and Incubus and anything I could. Guitar Player magazine tabs were my friend, so did that. Continued playing guitar through that era of high school too, but it took a year before Alex and I started playing together after his other band broke up, and that's when Roma happened, and that's where I met Jorge, and we had two other members that were friends of ours at the time.
Okay. So I want to go back to like when you're like learning these songs. You mentioned Guitar World. Like, man, I remember just going to the back and see what the new
Yep.
song was.
Yeah,
Um,
immediately.
yeah, and then tabs too. Like, when did you find out about tabs?
I imagine it was Alex that showed me. Like this was like in the early 2000s, right? But after the late 90s, when there was like the new metal explosion, right, came back, right? Ooh, the return of the rock. Um, was new metal music that had come out. So those magazines like that, Circus, Edge magazine in town,
Okay.
like we
Yeah.
were always consuming that stuff. I would go to Borders bookstore at the Quarry and like go straight to the news section because I knew that they had multiple ones. They had like Guitar Player and then like Guitar Legend or I don't know other
Yeah.
like music magazines, right? And then like the magazine for the drummers, and I didn't ever read that, but I went straight for the tabs, you know, like anything System of a Down, and found out what I didn't know how to play, but learned some other things.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That that's badass. Okay, so you already you had your own band then. Like did y'all start by doing covers or did you like want to make original music?
The first time I ever played with musicians like was not Alex and Jorge, so like we tried to do covers, but by the time we started Roma in high school, we were uh, juniors in high school.
Mhm.
We just started playing our own music. So like I really learned how to play from Alex and from Jorge and the other guys in the band.
Mhm.
Alex was like, I put my finger here, you put your finger there, okay? Like, you see this? You see how this one's like, they look the same? Like, you put your finger there, like, okay, I got that. So I figured that out, and then I just learned how to play with Jorge, like the drummer, right? Like, you want to be groovy and you want to be in the pocket. So, like, I've picked up all of that stuff just through, like, writing music with them. Uh, and yeah, it was always original. I guess we did a few covers. We played like Sex and Violence. I don't even remember the name of the band. That it was like a punk song, uh, and Euro Trash Girl, like just weird, obscure songs that were. I guess we were a post punk band. They used to say. I didn't even
Yeah.
know what that meant. They were like, "We're playing post punk music." I'm like, okay, like I'm here. Like I'm with my cousin. Like we're having fun. If people like that's what we did after school. We would go to Alex's house, and there was a room in the back of his house that was like connected through the washroom, or like the laundry room, like a whole separate room that was like in a small apartment or something. And we, man, it was awesome. Like having that in high school and just after graduation, stuff like that. Yeah.
Did y'all play any like local shows?
Yeah, we started out playing at the Rabbit. I mean, we had another show at the Gaista Gallery. Was our first show
Mm.
after a cancel. Like it was a debacle, right? It was like a makeup show through something else. Like, but we played at the White Rabbit. Like that was like our first show. Like we're
Yeah.
passing out flyers. It wasn't just our families. It was like we were at school telling people to come check this out. And the tickets, the old White Rabbit tickets with the names on
Yeah.
them. Man,
Isn't that so wild? Like back then, just getting flyers and I don't know, just being in high school, not even able to drive, like telling your
yeah,
friends, "Hey, try to come to see me at this like metal venue." Like
yeah.
parents were just not having it.
Oh man, we had such a good turnout. Like
Yeah.
there were five of us in the band, and we were all at Highlands. And our singer was super sociable, so he had tons of people at our show. His brother was in a younger grade, and like, and they were all like they were basically all from Highlands. So after our first show, in the back room
Hmm.
at the booking party, Rick's like, "You guys could play on the main stage now." Like, are bringing people in. We were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we figured it out." Like that's how you do this. And
Yeah.
then like, I don't know, like 8:30 is the time slot, and then like 9:40 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, so were you there when they were just like read out a date and you just had to
Yes,
raise your hand?
yeah, yeah. I was watching your episode, I think, with Andrew talking about that, and just like willing to take every show. Like, who wants it there? Like, okay, I know you guys want shows. Like, chill
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
That was us. That was us too. Like,
They gave us like they were like y'all can play the main stage, but it's like 6:30, like doors
mhm.
barely opening. Like
But
it's
what a great
crazy.
feeling! The stage was awesome. The
Oh
Rabbit was
man,
like big speakers. Like, oh man, you couldn't
yeah,
play anywhere else, right? Like, we were in high school, we couldn't play anywhere else. But that was great. And then you
yeah,
see like Meek pack the place at night, the same night that you play. It's like,
yeah. I think
what is happening? It
the
was
local
changed my
band.
life.
Oh yeah, Meek was big. Like the local band for me at the time was like Medicine Tongue.
Oh yeah,
Like
they
I
were
would go to
huge.
all the Medicine Tongue
Hog
shows and just
legs, low key, protein shake, or Finn, right? Forever's never. Like,
yeah,
it was a nice era there in the early 2000s. I guess
yes.
mid 2000s, early 2000s.
It's so wild. I just asked my grandpa like every Friday, just like drop me off at the Rabbit, give me like $10, and then pick me up at this time. And that was it. That was my like I don't know, my teenage years, just going to Rabbit every Friday.
That's
I
so
didn't care
great.
who was playing.
I was the first friend to have a car. So like,
Oh,
yeah, it was like, let's go. There's like six people in a tiny Toyota Corolla, like four people in the back seat, and my door handles were broken. You could just like open the door if you wanted to. Good times.
yeah, good times. What so I guess we heard about like Paper Tiger and oh man, I just forgot the production company running it. But you think the
Oh
Rabbit's gonna
yeah.
come back?
Oh dude, I have no idea. I have no idea what's gonna happen with all this stuff. It's fascinating though. I mean, I think it's making everybody like we have to consider what's gonna happen. So everybody's mind is kind of like tingling with like I feel like we're tingling with the productive kind of vibe, trying to be
Yeah,
like, what do we do now? Um, so I think that's kind of a good thing, even though it's
yeah,
like bad circumstances. It sucks seeing clubs close down.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, for sure. That production company is Margin Walker.
Margin Walker. That's
Yeah.
what. Yeah, I forgot
Um,
it was too.
so what have you been doing, I guess, musically during this quarantine time?
I've still kind of been doing some of what I was doing before, because like I was working at a high school doing an after school like music production and recording program. It wasn't a class because I wasn't grading them, but I was helping people like produce music, right, and write music. And then when everything dropped in spring break, magically, like I had opportunities come through with other organizations, nonprofits, doing virtual songwriting workshops, recording workshops. So I've still been able to get some of that kind of work, and like that's not really like my personal music, right, that
Mhm.
I'm working on, but that keeps me like that's what I do. Like that's what I spend a lot of my time on when I'm not doing band things.
Yeah. So the kids who is it just kids or like kids and adults who?
Like it goes up to teenagers. I think we had like some 20-year-olds over the summer, over the last few months or something. Different organizations based out of different places.
Mhm.
That's like a whole other like fascinating thing. I'm really like that's what like where my brain is at. Like what are we gonna do? I've been doing these virtual workshops and that's been really kind of cool. But that's like my knack. I work with young people a lot and I'm always trying to encourage them to like play music. Like you like music, like do it. Like you could do it. And I just kind of try and help them get to that point. And if they really take on to it, like that's great. And so
Yeah.
that keeps me inspired. I'm always producing music because I have to like write music with them.
Yeah.
Like they're not all like proficient musicians or anything. So they might give me an idea, and then when I take it, I like kind of like put it back to them and expand on it. So I'm always have this like creative output, which I'm really thankful for. And I've written some music, just like demos, recording stuff on my guitar, like always, like just put my voice memo on and record little riffs or ideas and chart out things. There's always ideas. Just need to get a bucket to capture all the water that's dripping.
Yeah. So how do these kids get involved in these programs? Do they like are they want to do music or is it just like it's just a way to keep them busy or you know uh
Well, it's there's been multiple ways. Some of it has been through the schools, and like the organization that I work with in town is called San Antonio Soundgarden,
mhm,
and so they do like contracts with schools sometimes, right? Like or other kinds of programs where they have like they already have the students, and they're like, hey, students, you can do this too, almost like an elective.
mhm,
So that's been a part of it, and that's been more like STEM style recording. Like let's teach you about recording, and then I've done some songwriting stuff with an organization out of Kansas City called Art as Mentorship,
mhm,
and they partnered up kind of like the way Soundgarden does with another institution. Basically, like people that have money to pay for programs that would normally be doing other things, they're like, well, we have this money, we're supposed to spend it on this. Now there's these organizations like Soundgarden or Artist Mentorship that are like, hey, we have this virtual program, you can do it. And so I've kind of fit into that really, really seamlessly. It's like right in my wheelhouse. It's like everything that I was doing already, except now I know how to do it like this.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So like now with technology and everything going on and you're meeting like these new kids who are just getting into music, do you feel that they're into more like electronic, like hip hop, like want to make beats kind of stuff, or is there still like the want to like play guitar and learn like physical instruments?
Well, the students are super eclectic. It just depends on like where the time and the place, kind of. Like when I was working at Sam Houston, there were some musicians there and there were some like electronic music producers, but by and large, a lot of the students that I was getting wanted to rap and like do hip hop, so we were making hip hop. And I love, that's my
Yeah.
stuff. So then like with the other programs that was through like these middle schools or younger kids, they really had less experience, so they're still figuring out what kind of music they like, a lot of electronic and pop stuff. And then with the songwriter stuff brings out a whole different crew because that label is like these people might already be at the point of writing songs, already know how to play an instrument or something like that. So we get people from all like we got horn players and string players, sometimes vocalists, rappers, producers, guitarists, obviously, um, and like people that would either write their own songs on ukulele or whatever. No, some of them knew how to record. It's just super diverse. So there's all types. It's everything. Music's not going anywhere. You know, and like
Yeah.
people are still into playing instruments, which is super refreshing. Um, you know, I think after you turn 30, you start to feel like, am I old?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear just some of the music that my daughter listens to, and I feel I feel like my parents felt at that
Yes,
time.
exactly.
And it's but I get it because I and my dad did his he still does. He'll listen to like whatever's current, even if it's heavy, like death metal, whatever I'm into, like he'll like listen to it and he'll be like, this is cool. I
Oh,
feel like I'm
cool.
trying to be that for my daughter because like, and the music, music's music, like,
Right. You gotta
there's
encourage
no
it.
right, wrong. If you like it, like, yeah, go for it, listen to it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
When I was in high school, first playing music is like I was listening to Limp Bizkit and Korn and all this stuff, right? Like really heavy, aggressive stuff. But the Metallica kids would like make fun of me or make fun of us, right? Like the new metal kids. And I was like, I'm not listening to Metallica. You guys suck. And then like I get older and I like playing music so much that I appreciate all types of music. And I
yeah.
remember, you know what? I used to listen to a lot of R&B and hip hop, and I used to listen to, inadvertently you hear country or you hear Tejano, right? You hear cumbia. I'm like, man, I want to play some cumbia music. That's good bass stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so are you? I know you were working on demos. Anything? Do you have any new like projects going on too, or is it just all solo stuff right now?
Not like specifically. Like I feel to me everything's always, if it's alive, and
Mhm.
nothing has really gone away. Uh, the Foreign Arm, that group, the R&B group that I'm in with Vocab and Nicholas Blevins, um, there's always those moments where it's like there's this creativity. Actually, the last thing that I wrote myself, I gave it to them and I was like, hey, help me make this better, like because it's totally got that kind of vibe for that project. And Pop Pistol is the same. It's like every time we're together, the conversation's always alive. Like it's cool whenever we play and they're like, oh, they're reuniting. I'm like, kinda, I
Yeah.
guess, but like that's my cousin. We hang out a lot and like don't always do music stuff. Uh, so those projects, like Papa still has a lot of songs. Like we have a lot of songs that haven't been recorded. I was thinking about it. We haven't put out an original record since 2012, but
Dang.
but we've played shows and we've written new stuff for like not for the shows, but we've played new stuff. Like if people were to put it to hear it in context, it would be like, oh, they have like a good a good bank of songs that are there to record. I think we always aim to do like singles because it makes the most sense where we're at right now
Yeah.
in our life. So, but I'm in school. I'm about to have a baby, like, and everybody's got their own projects going on too. Nina and Jorge are doing some really great stuff right now. They're writing an album. Alex is always right. Alex is the brain of Pop Pistol, and Alex has like never stopped writing music since he was 15.
Yeah.
It's been like 20 years. There's just always stuff. He's done Yes Yes. Some of those songs were like originally Pop Pistol songs, but they're like it's all the same. It's just once he brings it to us, like Jorge and I put the blood into it.
Yeah.
Like it's like we make it into the cyborg. It's like very digital, and then it becomes alive and like has muscles and stuff. So we're always doing that.
Yeah. Um, when you're so, I want to talk about your songwriting. Like, what's the most important, just key to songwriting for you?
The key to songwriting for me is just a lot of it's listening. Um, I love meeting other older musicians and getting like little wisdom from them. But one of the musicians that I got to work with along the way, he was like, music is like a conversation, right? Like who's doing the speaking, like so like there's always a voice of the musical instruments that's leading. And as a bass player, you have to do that. You're not usually the one that's like front and center, like musically, right? There's other elements, and if there's a vocalist, then you want the vocalist to be up front. The bass player is kind of like, I read that Victor Wooten book, so great, music lesson. I think he describes it too. It's like I think he says like you're setting the platter, right, for like the meal. So like the bass is kind of holding everything together,
Yeah.
right? So to me, as a bass player anyway, it's all about listening, and then other otherwise too, like if I play my guitar and I just pick it up and start playing, it's like I'm hearing something that is leading me, and it's like channeling this mood and this energy. So a lot of it's like that. It's a response to like the super present, right? Or like the next moment. I don't know what that is, but I know you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I definitely do. So for you, when I guess lyrically anything like that, do you have the music comes first, or is it just kind of whatever happens happens?
Majority of the time, music comes first for me. Even in listening to like music that I wind up liking a lot, you know, if I
Hmm.
listen to a song that I never heard before on the radio or anywhere, if I'm watching a band, the musical elements get me. Like I I appreciate the ride that you get taken on. It doesn't matter if it's pop or whatever. Like the instrumentation to me, the production, especially if I'm listening to a recording, that's what hits me first. So lyrically, I kind of get to those points later. The inspiration for lyrics, though, as much as I teach it, uh, as much as I preach it, I ain't always, practicing it. I kind of avoid writing lyrics for some reason. Like I have some out there, but it's also because I'm not really like pushing my songs and like trying to record and like get them out there. I started thinking recently like maybe it would serve me to like get these songs down and like put them out there as a songwriter, because I write lots of stuff and it's very like all over the place. Like I don't know how to market myself, right? Like
Yeah,
those kinds of things, but I love music and I play it all the time. When I write lyrics, I think they're all right. They're talking about life and silliness sometimes too. Make songs about writing songs.
yeah. Um, Man, this is awesome. So like, what are your plans for 2021, like musically?
Oh, well, as much as I can. It's always keep it real fluid. I have a lot of long term, like really big plans and ideas,
Mhm.
and that's kind of like those ongoing conversations, like with Pop Pistol and even myself as an artist. Like I do write songs. I do want to do an album. I've gotten real comfortable with my relationship to time in that regard. I think being in Pop Pistol and playing with the same guys for so long, and being able to look back and be like, okay, I've been in 6 bands, like already. These ones have been consistent, but like I have all this experience, and then I'm looking at the guys that are like twice my age and they're still playing, you know, like uh, I think this year Jim Cullum passed away, and he was a local guy. He was a trumpeter, a jazz musician, but I saw him play in the little at a Tucker's right in their small room. Um, and I'm just thinking like this guy has had so much experience. Like I'm in it for the long haul. I'm like on
Yeah,
the ride. I'm real comfortable with where it's at. I have a lot of big dreams and aspirations. They're not specifically tied to like fame or like stardom. Um, Maybe a little bit of fortune would be cool.
yeah,
Maybe you make a good song that people like. Maybe I sell somebody a song and they sing it on the radio and like I'm getting checks now. Like that's awesome.
yeah,
Um, so it's kind of like more than that too, right? Like at least I work with young people so much, like that's where I'm always coming from. Like I can't help you get famous. I can give you some ideas about what you can do maybe to get famous, and like if that's what you want, you might have to change some things in order to get that. And you gotta decide for yourself, like what am I sacrificing, what am I giving up, all those kinds of things. We hear it all the time. Like you've been hearing about record label stuff with bands since before you were in a band, probably, right?
yeah,
And you still hear it, and it comes down to like creative control and these business things that it is what it is. That's why like you have to kind of look past it. I started watching the Selena series on Netflix, and it's people are hating on it too, but and that's fine. You gotta be critical, I guess. But um, the work that they did and like some of those themes, right? Because they're a family.
yeah,
I've contemplated on that stuff a lot. So like if I kind of want it all, so I got a little different long game going on. Like I'm gonna be. I have that vision of like being like in my 50s and my 60s still playing. Like I don't want to stop until like I say I don't want to play anymore. I want to, and I always want it to be because I want to do it. not because I have to do it. Like I don't know if I can do like a super grueling like world tour. That's
Yeah,
crazy, man. And I see those people's lives. Like there's documentaries about it, and like it's kind of a good thing that I didn't get famous when I was in my early 20s. Like some of these other people, because they have problems like severe ones that those are other things. I
yeah,
think a lot.
yeah,
I think a lot about those things.
yeah. I agree with you. I really relate to pretty much everything you said, especially with this quarantine time. I'm able to like still be at home with my family, but I can still write and record. I can still be a musician, and I
Yeah,
think it put into perspective like I can do this for the long run. I don't have to worry about going and playing a show every weekend or whatever, which is fun. Like that stuff's
it's
fun
super
too.
fun. I miss it a lot. I really do.
Yeah, and I can't wait to like play a
Oh
show,
yeah,
but also like I want to keep playing shows like until I can, until my fingers was like stop moving, like
right.
even if I'm doing sitting in whatever, like it doesn't even matter. I
Yeah.
just want to play. But yeah, it's been a wild year, and hopefully, 2021 is a little better on musicians, but
Oh yeah.
mm,
Hopefully so. It's
yeah.
it's hard seeing people lose so much work. I I don't know how, but I'm always like in a spot where I definitely feel like I got blessings, like I'm okay, and I'm not super hurting. But people are losing their entire jobs. I kind of lost my job, but I guess I'm coping with it differently. Like
Yeah.
trying to see what is my next step, and like maybe this is you know maybe I need to go with it a little bit. Right now I'm teaching young people how to make music, or really like just encouraging them, like I say,
Yeah.
because it's good for here. I do it for here first.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you can totally tell, man, like you can tell that your heart's like in the right place, and I really appreciate it because I see some posts you do and just hearing about you working with like kids and just inspiring them like that that's badass. That's essentially kind of like what the idea of this podcast was, is more like, hey, maybe you can relate to this person. Like some people started because their dads played or their parents played, or was it radio DJs? Someone started playing music out of spite. Like there's ways for you to relate to people that might make you want to pick up an instrument and just play. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole goal of
I'm
everything.
like I did 3 or 4 of those at least. The first songs that I wrote were real. I was expressing my disappointment with what life was doing to me at that time. Yeah, it's all those things.
Yeah, man. How can people keep up with you or keep up with any of your bands on social media?
Well, the Foreign Arm and Pop Pistol both on Instagram. That's like kind of I think where life happens, and that's a
Yeah.
place where you can contact us. I doubt that our websites are up, but like go listen to the music. Just look up the Foreign Arm on YouTube. I would suggest for the Foreign Arm because we got some videos and stuff, and also on Spotify. And then Pop Pistol, like Google Pop Pistol, and things will come up. Go listen to. There's like at least 40 tracks out there that you can listen to that were all well
Jeez.
recorded. Like they're there, and there's gonna be more, and I think it's gonna be a pretty exciting uh, next chapter for everything.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for your time. We definitely need to catch up again. I really enjoyed our conversation, but congratulations on fatherhood. And
Thank you so much.
yeah, man, have a great rest of the break, and we'll catch up later. Okay?
For sure, I'm gonna I'm arranging my office as like nesting. Right, everything's kind of in
Yeah,
disarray, but yeah, I appreciate it, man. It was good. It was good to talk.
yeah, man. Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah,
Peace.
later.
I'm about to be a dad, man. pretty soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are you
So
stoked? I'm sure you're stoked, but like,
yeah,
how
yeah,
stoked are you?
intensely and like all the normal things, right? Like terrified, but like super excited. You know, we knew that we wanted to have a family, so we're happy to be here
Oh man,
for
that's so
sure.
awesome.
And
Man,
I mean, I bring that up because I'm like, I see you with your daughter and stuff, and like, I admire parents a lot, especially musician, artist parents. It's always cool because we're like a different breed. Everybody raises their kids with a little bit more like creativity and stuff.
yeah, absolutely. It's been real cool with Dahlia because she like she's interested in music on her own. Like I want her to play, but she's also like interested by herself. So it's
That's so
cool.
cool.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so stoked, man. I'm stoked for you and your family and your wife. That's gonna be awesome.